Hey cool kids, we are ready to learn about poetic sound devices. These are just some tools that poets use to add some sound to their poem. So let's get started. For this activity, you're going to need scissors, a glue stick, and some highlighters or colored pencils or markers, whatever you've got. These are the handouts that I'm going to be using in this video. If you have them, you can go ahead and start cutting them out. You're going to cut right around these bold lines. You're going to cut this rectangle out, and then you're going to cut this one for definitions out as well. Do not cut the dotted lines out yet. We're going to wait on that. And then on this one, you're going to cut out around this dotted line, but don't cut the pieces apart. So you're going to end up with 3 separate pieces. If you don't have these handouts, just check the link in the description box below and go grab yourself a copy, or you can just keep watching and see what you learn. If I'm ever moving too fast or if you get behind, just pause the video or back it up to catch up. We're going to be taking a look at poetic sound devices. You're probably thinking that sounds a little complicated, but really a device is just a tool, and these are some tools that poets use to add sound to their poems. So you've got 3 pieces. What we want first is we are actually going to take the one that's poetic sound devices, and we are going to fold this flap. I always like to fold it where I can see the black line, so I'm going to fold it back so that I can be sure that I have the black line visible. Then I'm going to fold it forward. Then I'm going to do the same thing with the definitions one. Fold it back. And of course, if I'm ever moving too fast for you, just pause the video and catch up and then hit play again when you're ready. All right, now the first thing we're going to do is I just kind of want to line it out and see how it's going to fit. This one's going to tuck under here like this, and both these flaps are going to be stuck down. So I think I'm going to try and line this one up with the pink line on my paper. So I'm going to grab my glue. And I just want glue on the part that's the little flap that we just folded. I don't want it on this because this has to lift up, and I don't really want to get it on the paper anywhere because I don't want stuff sticking where it's not supposed to be. Then I'm going to line this up with the pink line and then just smooth that down. I want to lift this and make sure that nothing else is sticking, because this one, the definitions one, is going to tuck right under here. So we want it like that. Now I find that this is a little easier to tuck under and then fold back and then add the glue to it. And then I've already got it positioned where I want it. So I'm going to hold this in place, and then I'm just going to add the glue here. And now I've got 2 little doors that open. Inside of that, I'm going to put our example page. I want to make sure that it fits, and it should fit perfectly. I'm going to flip it over, and I'm just going to put a good coating of glue all the way around, and then a big X in the center. And then I'm just going to line it up here. Okay, and then smooth it out. And we're ready to start talking about some of these sound devices. Okay, last time we talked about rhyme, and we actually coated it in orange. So we're going to keep going with that theme, and we're going to draw a orange box around it. Go ahead and lift this flap up, and we'll take a look at the definition for rhyme. Words that have the same ending sound, usually found at the end of a line of poetry. So bat, cat, hat, sat, mat, those all rhyme because they have at the end. We're going to look at another example of this. This is probably one of the most common things that we see in poetry is rhyme. Now, all poems do not rhyme, but a lot of them do, and it is pretty common. So it's an important sound device. It's a way that poets get some good sound in their poem. So we're going to take a look at this one. I do not like green beans and rice. I do not think they will taste nice. I do not want red beets and roast. I will not eat it on my toast. So it's kind of a silly little poem that I wrote, but we're going to look for some rhymes. And where are we going to look? You're right. We're going to look at the end of the line. So let's take a look. Here we've got rice, nice. Do those rhyme? Yeah, they both have ice at the end. So what we're going to do is we're going to circle rice and circle nice. Then we've got roast and toast. Do those rhyme? Yeah, they sure do. They both have oast at the end. The initial sound is different, but the middle and final sounds are the same. So we are going to draw a box around roast and toast. All right, so we're ready to look at our next sound device. All right, our next one is rhythm. We talked about this one last time as well. And if you remember, rhythm is the what? It's the beat of the poem. It has to do with how you read it. Let's take a look here at the definition. It's the beat of the poem heard in the pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables. And all we mean by stressed and unstressed is that we're saying one syllable a little bit louder and a little bit stronger than another syllable. Let's look for the beat or the rhythm in this one. This is from a very old poem that I really like by Robert Louis Stevenson. It says, and this one's a little different than Twinkle Twinkle Little Star because the first syllable had the stressed beat and we slashed it, but in this one it's the second syllable. In winter I get up at night and dress by yellow candle light. In summer quite the other way, I have to go to bed by day. So that's the pattern there. It does sound a little bit different than Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, but you can still hear it. Bum, 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 bum. It has that consistent beat to it that you could kind of tap your foot to and keep rhythm with. Okay, repetition. Do you remember the word that repetition comes from? Repeat. When you have repetition, you are just repeating things. Let's take a look at the definition. Words, phrases, or lines that are repeated, usually to show importance. So words, phrases, which would be a group of words, but not a complete sentence, or lines. It could be the entire line in the that is repeated. All right, let's take a look at some. This is a poem that I remember doing some rhythmic clapping to when I was a kid, or jump roping perhaps. Miss Mary, Mac, 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 all dressed in black, 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 with silver buttons, 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 all down her back, back, back. So we've definitely got some repetition here. They're saying the same word 3 times in a row at the end of each line. And you know what? It actually builds on the rhythm of this poem. We can kind of hear that beat. That's why it's so good to jump rope too, because you're always going to be jumping on the same beat. Or you can do clapping games to it as well. So even though I'm only highlighting rhyme up here and rhythm here and repetition here, we can kind of see it in almost all of them. So you've got rhythm in all of these, you've got rhyme in all of these. Now you don't have repetition in all of these, except for here we've got I do not like or I do not think. So it all starts with I do not or I will not. Here it doesn't have as much repetition, but there's still a little bit. But we see it really strong right here. But most of these elements are in all of the poems. So you just kind of have to hunt for them. Okay, we are ready to learn something new. This is a huge word and it's just a little odd. You've probably never heard it before. The word is alliteration. We're going to do this one in green, and it's a really big word that has a really simple definition. So let's take a look at it. Repetition, remember, repeating, of the same beginning sound. So rhyming is repeating the same ending sound. Alliteration is basically the opposite of that. It's repeating the same beginning sound. Let's look at an example. You probably have heard this one before. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? Oh, that's a tongue twister. But you can definitely hear the alliteration. Almost every word in this little poem starts with the p sound. So we're just very quickly going to highlight all of this alliteration, and you'll see pretty quickly that it is almost every word, and we're reusing a lot of words to kind of bring in that repetition as well. And you've definitely got rhythm in this too. So we've got a lot of those sound devices in here. And this would definitely be categorized as a tongue twister because it has so many of the same words and similar words like peck and pick. And because it has all these P sounds in it, you're going to get your tongue tied trying to say it. Like she sells seashells by the seashore. That's another one that's really hard to say. It's a tongue twister because it uses a lot of alliteration and a lot of repetitive sounds or very similar sounds. Okay, we're on to our last sound device. This one is such a goofy word. It's onomatopoeia, which is just a really big, fancy word, once again, just like alliteration, for a pretty simple definition. these are going to be words that make the sound they are describing, okay? So it's words in the poem that actually make the sound that they're describing. So the sound of saying the word is kind of similar to the sound if you actually heard it. So let's look at some examples of this one. Whoosh, crack, boom, fender fills the room. Pow, bang, roar, I am hiding on the floor. So in this one, the word whoosh sounds like a whoosh of wind. It makes the same noise as if you heard the whoosh. Crack. It kind of sounds like the sound thunder makes when it cracks. Boom. That is the sound that you hear. It very much sounds like the word boom. Pow, bang, roar. So those are words that make the sound they're describing. So when you think onomatopoeia, just think sound word. You're looking for a word that sounds like a sound or that makes a sound. All right, you did an excellent job on this foldable. We learned all about sound devices. Be sure to watch my other videos on poetry and subscribe so that you can stay updated when I post new videos. Thanks so much for watching.